After our interview with both Romneys, we sat down alone with the governor. We talked about the campaign and how President Obama has dealt with the nation's problems since his re-election. But we started with why anyone should listen to Mitt Romney. Before we get to current events, what role do you see for yourself? What part do you want to play in the Republican Party? What role do you want to have in the national debate?
Well, I recognize that I lost, so I'm not going to be the leader of the Republican Party. Other people will take that mantle. But I want to have influence on getting our party to a position where we can be successful in solving the problems the country has.
You must know that there are a lot of people in the party who still blame you for losing a race they think that the Republicans could have won in 2012. To a certain degree, when you hear about the rebranding, aren't people saying they want to distance the party from you?
Well, I recognize that as the guy who lost the election, I'm not in a position to tell everybody else how to win, all right? They're not going to listen, and I don't have the credibility to do that anyway, but I still care, and I still believe that there are principles that we need to stand for. You know, I look at what's happening right now. I wish I were there. It kills me not to be there, not to be in the White House doing what needs to be done. The president is the leader of the nation. The president brings people together, does the deals, does the trades, knocks the heads together. The president leads, and I don't see that kind of leadership happening right now.
What is this president doing?
Well, he's campaigning. He's the only one that can say to his own party, look, you guys, I need you on this, and get some Republicans aside and say, pull them off one by one. We don't have to have these gridlock settings, one after the other, on issue after issue. And it's going to take real leadership and people in both parties willing to put aside political victories and start fighting for national victories.
So let me ask you specifically, how do you think the president has handled the sequester, the $85 billion in automatic spending cuts?
Well, no one can think that that's been a success for the president. He didn't think the sequester would happen. It is happening. To date, what we've seen is the president out campaigning to the American people, doing rallies around the country, flying around the country, and berating Republicans and blaming and pointing. Now, what does that do? That causes the Republicans to retrench and to put up a wall and to fight back. It's a very natural human emotion. You know, when I was elected governor of my state, I had a legislature 87% Democrat. It was not lost on me that to get anything done, I couldn't be attacking them. I had to find ways to reach out to them. The president has the opportunity to lead the nation and to bring Republicans and Democrats together. It's a job he's got to do, and it's a job only the president can do.
During the last presidential debate, you brought up the effect that the sequester would have on the military. And the president said,
the sequester is not something that I proposed. It's something that Congress has proposed. It will not happen.
Your thoughts now?
Yeah, wrong on two fronts. There should be a deal done here, and it should be not just solving the short-term sequester issue, but dealing with the long-term fiscal challenge that America has. This is an opportunity. I look at the sequester and also the expiration of the Bush tax cuts as an almost once-in-generational opportunity for America to solve its fiscal problems. If we do that, we can become more competitive globally, and America can lead the world for the coming century. I mean, I see this as this huge opportunity, and it's being squandered by politics, by people who are more interested in a political victory than they are in doing what's right for the country. And it's very frustrating. I have to tell you, the hardest thing about losing is watching this critical moment, this golden moment, just slip away with politics.
The Obama administration is right now releasing hundreds of illegal immigrants who have been slated for deportation because they say they can't afford to hold them. What do you think of that?
I think the president has to act in the interest of the country. And that means if we need an aircraft carrier in the Gulf, and I believe we do, I thought we needed one more, that he should do it. I think if there are people who are incarcerated, he should make sure that we're able to keep them in jail. And using the sequester as an excuse is, in my opinion, the wrong way to go. Look, again, it's It's politics. It's, okay, how do we do something that will get a headline that will make it look like those terrible Republicans aren't willing to come together? I understand from Paul Ryan, I spoke with him just a day or two ago, that he's put forward a proposal to give the president flexibility in moving that money between accounts, so we're going to bring the spending down, but you're going to get, Mr. President, the chance to make sure that we don't have long lines at the airport, or we don't...
The president says he doesn't want that flexibility.
And why? Why would you not want to have the flexibility to do what you think is right for the country? The only answer that comes back is that there may be more interest in showing pain and saying, see what the other guys did? Look, this is the country. And it's, this is America we're talking about at a critical time. And you know, Nero is fiddling. I mean, come on, guys, focus on getting America through a difficult time and on the track to remain the most powerful and strong nation in the history of the earth, and put people back to work.
The one issue in Washington where the president and Republicans seem to be coming together is immigration reform. And one big reason everybody agrees is because the president hammered you among Hispanic voters. Did you make a political mistake in the campaign when you talked about self-deportation? And what do you think of the idea that the Gang of Eight in the Senate is coming up with that would allow the 11 million illegals a provisional status, basically a legal status in this country, even before any increase in enforcement?
People who have come here illegally should not be given a special pathway to permanent residency or citizenship in this country merely because they've come here illegally. So I have that position, but I understand others have different positions. Others in my party do. And to finally resolve this issue is going to require people of differing views to come together and see if there can be some compromise or some common ground. And I hope that happens. I believe that will happen.
This brings me to the campaign, and I want to ask you about several issues and what role you think they played in your defeat.
It would be nice if Governor Romney would exercise leadership on his former staff and his major donors to take falsehoods off the air.
Did the long, bitter primary fight force you to move further to the right and end up hurting you in the general election?
The idea that somehow the primary made me become more conservative than I was just isn't accurate. On the other hand, a long and blistering primary where people are attacking one another and where the attacks sometimes are not on the mark but are creating an unfavorable impression, those things are not helpful. And some of the debates, for instance, you get asked questions that are kind of silly that end up hurting you in the general. So remember the famous question, you know, if you get $10 of cost savings for when only $1 tax increase, would you go along with that?
When you raise your hand, if you feel so strongly about not raising taxes, you'd walk away on the 10-to-1 deal.
But no, that's a good question. Why not be the one who stands up there, raises your hand and said, of course, if it was 10 for 1, I'd do it?
Again, because if you've said that you're not going to raise taxes, then they'd say Romney's changed his position. He said he wouldn't raise taxes. Now he's saying he will. He's changed his position. This is...
But you would have accepted $10 in spending cuts for $1 in revenue.
Yeah, that's a fairy tale, because no one is going to give you $10 in spending cuts for $1 in revenue increase. You've got to, if you're going into a negotiation, you've got to stand for your position, know they're going to stand for theirs, and then recognize that there's going to be some compromise.
The 47% video.
There are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they're victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them.
George Will said, you got a problem when voters don't like you. You got a real problem when voters think you don't like them.
Yeah, it was a very unfortunate statement that I made. It's not what I meant. I didn't express myself as I wished I would have. You know, when you speak in private, you don't spend as much time thinking about how something could be twisted and distorted and could come out wrong and be used. But, you know, I did, and it was very harmful. What I said is not what I believe. Obviously, my whole campaign, my whole life has been devoted to helping people, all the people. I care about all the people of the country. But that hurt, there's no question that hurt, and did real damage to my campaign.
Just before the election, Hurricane Sandy and Chris Christie, the New Jersey governor's embrace, literally and figuratively, of President Obama. How much did that hurt?
You know, I don't think that's why the president won the election. My campaign had to kind of stop, and we're in the last week. And this was a time we were getting ready to hammer our message. We had to stop. But as for Chris did what he thought was the best for the people of his state.
Honestly,
and I respect
as we
that.
sit here right now, do you wish he'd been a little less effusive in his support of Obama, which made him seem more presidential?
I'm not going to worry about how Chris was doing what he thought was best for the people of his state. I lost my election because of my campaign, not because of what anyone else did.
Looking back, how do you rate yourself as a presidential candidate?
Well, I see my mistakes and I see my flaws, and I did better this time than I did the time before, and I won't get a third chance. I'm not doing it again. The weakness that our campaign had and that I had is we weren't effective in taking my message primarily to minority voters, to Hispanic Americans, African Americans, other minorities. That was a real weakness. We did very well with the majority population, but not with minority populations, and that was a failing. That was a real mistake.
Why do you think that was?
Well, I think the Obamacare attractiveness and feature was something we underestimated, particularly among lower incomes, and we just didn't do as good a job at connecting with that audience as we should have.
What does the Republican Party need to do to reach out and attract more voters?
Well, first of all, I lost. And so I'm not going to be telling the Republican Party, come listen to me. The guy who lost is going to tell you how to win.
You must have some ideas.
But of course, but among those ideas, clearly, we have to do a better job bringing minority voters in to vote for Republicans. And that's Hispanic Americans, African Americans, other minorities. We've got to do a better job taking our message to them to help them understand why we're the party with the ideas that will make their life better.
Finally, this interview, in a sense, is your return to the national stage. After everything you've been through, why do you want to get back in the game?
Well, I'm not going to disappear. I'm not running for office. I don't have a big organization that's out speaking in my behalf, but I care about America. I care about the people that can't find jobs. I care about the fact that we're racking up larger deficits and putting the peril of the future generation very much in play. I really care about this country. I care about my 20 grandkids, the kind of America they're going to have. And sitting on the sidelines when so much is at stake is just not in my nature.
Governor, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be with you.